Hello everyone, good afternoon. Welcome to our April webinar, Save Time This Spring, Digitize Paperwork on the Go with Cloud Document Management. The webinar today will be presented by Mark Machonsky, Regional Sales Director and Digital Workflow Expert here at DocuWare. My name is Nicole, I'm the Marketing Specialist at DocuWare, and I'll be moderating the Q&A panel at the end of the webinar. Just a few housekeeping items before we begin. This webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to you once it's available. In the handout section of your GoToWebinar panel, please be sure to download our newest DocuWare Cloud case study that showcases both the business and human benefits that can be achieved using DocuWare. Thank you again for joining today, and now I'll pass it off to Mark.
Great, thanks Nicole, I appreciate the introduction, and hopefully you're seeing on your screen today's agenda. We've got about a half hour to spend with you. We're going to kick off with a quick introduction talking about setting the new pace for organizations using the DocuWare platform. We're going to focus in a demonstration on tools that are related to mobile utilization of the DocuWare platform, including paper scan and the mobile client, and maybe we'll get to a digital form. And then finally, we've got 5 minutes slotted for Q&A. Hopefully you've got lots of questions here. So what does slow down the pace of companies today? The accessibility to information, it seems like it should be there. It seems like it should be accessible. However, we're constantly searching in different silos for documents, including, paper documents and file cabinets and shared drives and email and other locations, which really bites into the day and, costs us a lot of time and effort and pain. I imagine if you're like me, you're constantly being stretched to do more with what time you have available. Security is a constant question. Are our documents and our interactions secure, and who's paying attention to that? And finally, the tools that we have to empower us in a business are oftentimes frustrating, complex, and just difficult to use as a mobile platform. So I want to talk about three concepts here: digitization, doc management, and workflow automation, all elements of the DocuWare platform. And it's kind of an evolution. Digitization is really about capturing paper documents digitally and filing them so that they can be made available. You're getting rid of paper costs, you're getting rid of storage, and you're making them accessible to users across the organization. And really that's the first step in creating a more efficient organization. But the first real step in really becoming more productive as an organization is when you apply document management to those digitized documents. Document management can help you manage not only your paper documents when they're digitized, but the myriad of other document types that you may have, including spreadsheets and Word documents and PowerPoints and others, and allow you to quickly and easily search for documents based on tags that you apply to those documents, to content within those documents. I think maybe just as importantly, we can secure those documents and make them available to only the people that need access to those documents, while tracking and auditing who's actually accessing those documents. We can provide access to through their mobile devices and really manage the retention and the compliance of documents once they're under document management. But the real effectiveness of your organization can be increased when you take that final step into workflow. And that means taking the content and documents that we have under control, and with an understanding of what your best practices are for processes within your organization, deliver those to the right people at the right time when they need to interact with the documents. So we deliver those documents to folks as they need them. They're nurtured through the system, and as they are reviewed and approved or rejected from one individual, they might be sent on to another to fulfill the next step of the process, really increasing the throughput and the efficiency of your overall organization. So ultimately, with those tools and with the application of enterprise content management that DocuWare offers, we can help you set a new pace with your organization, taking difficult to manage information and making it available at the moment it's required for decision making. You know, along people that are stretched too thin to work without compromise, to you know, apply security and data protection to all content in an organization, and to really relieve the frustration of users in the field and give them tools that are intuitive, usable, and can be applied to, you know, mobile people that are in the field working and not necessarily sitting behind a desk. So let's talk about what we're going to show you here today. We're going to be focusing on those components that I referenced, the mobile clients, including DocuWare's paper scan for mobile capture, the mobile client for interacting with workflow and viewing documents, and again, we may even get to a digital form here. But we're going to see it in the context of an application. We're going to be showing you how that might be used in your organization to help you process expense reports. And in fact, this is not a hypothetical use case. What I'm going to be showing you here today is very similar to what DocuWare does in our production expense management procedure. So we've got, you know, hundreds of employees across the US who potentially could submit expense reports, and they do exactly what we're going to show you. They can capture documents digitally, either from their phone or from a scanner or from import of a document, clip that together with all of the other receipts that they might be leveraging for a given week, attach that to a cover sheet which has the detailed information on the numbers and dollars and cents, and submit that for approval. And that goes through a series of approval steps. And in fact, in our production environment, I think there's 6 or 7 different people that might interact with the document. At any given time, an employee can see where their expense report might be and track that and monitor their expense reports. And typically, from the date of submission to the date of payment, we're talking about 2-3 days max, and it flows very, very nicely. So with that, I'm going to jump into a DocuWare session that's already in progress here. What you're looking at is the DocuWare digital desktop, and it's running, in this case, in Internet Explorer, and it's browser-based, so you can run it in any of your preferred browsers. It's a very elegant and simple looking user interface, and that's really by design to facilitate, you know, ease of use for users that are learning the technology. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of power for folks that really want to leverage the depth of the tool set. A quick introduction of what you're seeing on the screen and how we're going to see documents and data. On the right-hand side, we're going to see the documents presented to us for viewing, and we've got an embedded viewer that comes with DocuWare that allow you to view up to 300, I believe it's 300 different file formats to date. So if you have an Excel file stored in the system, or a Word doc or a PDF, you don't need to launch the application and hunt for the window that might have been launched to view that document. It's all going to be presented to you there. On the left-hand side, we're looking at the pane that's being used to view documents before they're filed. And I happen to be looking at my inbox here. We can also execute searches for documents, and we can participate in workflows, and we'll see alerts for workflows presented to us in this list menu. But let's take a look at the 2 documents that are in my inbox. And I guess this inbox is very analogous to a metal or plastic inbox that might be living on your desktop today, where documents are waiting for you to interact with them. You may be collecting them for the week and then processing them at the end of the week if you still have a manual expense report process here. But you know, here we're seeing 2 receipts that have been collected, in my case, from the field. This happens to be a little bit older expense report we're going to process. It looks like it's from early February, and looks like I visited a Chipotle. It looks like I also visited I believe this is for a barbecue, city barbecue. And so we've collected a couple documents, and that's what I do during the week. Is I will, you know, as I'm interacting with customers at the end of a dinner, I will snap a shot with my DocuWare paper scan application and either save it to my phone and submit it to DocuWare later, or even submit it live while I'm at the restaurant, because I tend to lose things, and this is a tool that facilitates me not losing things. So with that, I'm going to launch over to my handy Galaxy S8 and show you what the DocuWare paper scan application looks like. Now, here we have, you should be seeing my screen, which is a representation of my phone. And to introduce paper scan is obviously a mobile app, but it's probably very similar to the digital apps that you might have used for capturing checks and submitting those to your bank. So the process is very straightforward. I'm going to very simply hover my phone over a receipt here, and we're going to see the phone try to find the edges of that receipt. And once it finds those edges, it's going to automatically crop that image and paste it to my mobile desktop. I must have been shaking there because that looks a little bit fuzzy. However, we'll go with that for now. And I'm going to add a second document here, and we'll capture a larger 8.5 by 11-inch sheet that happens to be a Holiday Inn receipt here. It's looking for the edges of that document. In this case, I think I'll just click the button, and we'll show you how the tool can be used to crop things that maybe don't have crisp edges. Here you can see it's asking me where the edges of that paper are, and I'm going to save that representation. And let's roll back to our desktop view. Now I'm going to take the two receipts that I just captured, and I'm going to paperclip them together so that they can act as a single unit in DocuWare when I send them forward. Once I select an image or a set of documents, I then can share those to a number of different environments. If you'll notice here, the paper scan application can share to Outlook, it could share to Gmail, it could share to a variety of different applications here. So I would encourage you to go download the paper scan application. It's free, and it can allow you to do the process I just showed you and save documents to Outlook. If you happen to be using it with DocuWare, you can click on the Share with DocuWare button, which I've just done here. We're connecting to my cloud-based system, and it's uploading that to my tray, which is where we're collecting our various documents here. So we'll notice that there's a new document here within the tray that's been stored. So kind of going with the theme of mobile, oftentimes it's not your phone you're in front of when you want to store something. And I'm going to go back to my personal email here, and I'm going to open up my, and we can take a look here. I've got a Holiday Inn receipt for February 4th, and it's got a attachment of the receipt. It's got a body of the email, and I want to quickly save that to my DocuWare environment. We've got native integration with the Outlook environment, and I'm going to save it as an expense report to my DocuWare tray. And we can see an indication here that it's been stored there. So let's take a couple more steps here, and I'm going to import, for example, I've got a screenshot of a screen of my US Bank credit card because I lost a receipt, and I want to highlight a receipt that or a bill that I had paid. And to get that into the DocuWare environment from here, I simply need to drag and drop that onto our tray, and that will be our 5th document that we add to our tray. Okay, so from here, it looks like it's kind of cluttered on my screen. I'm going to submit these as a batch of documents anyway, so what I'm going to do is highlight all those, and we're going to digitally paperclip those documents together. So they will be independent documents that will be stored together, but they'll be linked so that you can find them all together, and they won't be floating around the environment or the doc management system. So as per DocuWare's procedure, we typically attach a cover page, which consists of a completed Excel spreadsheet. And here you can see I've reflected all of my expenses for the week, capturing where I was, what I ate, how much it cost, total expenses are there, and we can see that the subtotal of the meals and entertainment are calculated. And I want to store that to the DocuWare system tray. I could do that very simply by using a mechanism through the printer capability of any Microsoft Windows application. And I'm going to click on Print. The DocuWare printer application is intercepting that document, trying to identify what it is. So we'll use hints on the document such as text etc. That will help us define what that document is, and we should see that land very shortly in our tray, which we're seeing here. So my accounting operations team likes to see the spreadsheet on the front of our package. So I'm going to click on that first and then click on the other documents that we'd clipped together here and unify those as a single compound document before I submit it for storage. So from here, I'm going to click on my store dialog, and I've got a couple options. I'm going to select store as an expense item, but note I could also, if I had, for example, an invoice that I wanted to store, I could store that in my finance cabinet. This is an enterprise application, and usually our customers start in one location, like expenses or like accounts payable, and then expand to things like human resources and other things. So let's file that as an expense report here. As I'd alluded to earlier, the indexing data we're seeing here on the left are all tags that I can, in the future, retrieve that document by, but it's been pulled directly out of my spreadsheet, so I don't have to manually enter that data to file this document away. And I can modify any of this data. So for example, if this was inaccurate and I wanted to add an airfare item to that, I could do so. Of course, that does not reflect what I have attached to my receipts, so it wouldn't be appropriate. But let's file that. And we've taken that out of our temporary tray. And what we're doing right now is filing in the DocuWare system where we can make it available for searching and finding by the entire organization. You know, while we're talking about searching, I'm going to bring up my search dialog, which reflects here all the elements that we saw that document was tagged by. And if I wanted to go in and search for all of Mark Mashansky's expense report that have been submitted over time, I could complete my name. There's a type ahead mechanism that pre-fills that. And here you can see, we could see all of the past month or two expense reports and their status, when they were submitted, and various other data you could see here, including all of the tags that we've submitted related to, what was the hotel expense, what were meals and entertainments, and we could sort very much like in an Excel spreadsheet by any one of these items. So I could look at all the rejected items here, or if I sort by date submitted, I could see that in fact those rejected items were, for example, this one here, it was initially submitted and it looks like the same day I resubmitted with a corrected expense report. And I could drill down into further to find specific documents in my repository also. So let's say, for example, I was looking to see how many times I'd gone to a, let's say, a Wendy's over the past month or so. And mind you, these are my real receipts. So looks like I've done pretty good. I've only gone to that fast food restaurant one time. And in fact, that reference to that restaurant is on a specific receipt, which we're being dragged right into, and you'll see highlighted in red. So that's an example of the full text searching of the DocuWare environment. So let's talk about what happens after I store that document in the repository. The system wakes up and it evaluates this new document, and it is now presenting to my operations team through this list item an expense report for their review and approval. And I'm going to click on that document so we can view it on the right-hand side. Now, my operations team's job is to go through all these receipts, total them up, and make sure they match what we're looking at on the Excel spreadsheet, which is being used as a cover page. Okay. They may make notes on that document, so they may pick on me a little bit, or perhaps try to save me from myself and say something like, Mark, you are eating poorly on the road. Try to do better. All right, so that's a great hint, and I would agree with them. It's hard to eat well on the road. This annotation does not change the original document. It can be turned off and on, and the next person to view that document down the line is going to see that annotation if they have the rights. Now, in completion of this process, when they finally total up everything, they can apply what we call a stamp, and a stamp basically will give you a visual indication of the action that's been taken and who took it and what time. And by applying that, I'm actually changing the status of the document to say that operations has completed their job, and this has now been presented to the next stage in the process. And in fact, what it's been presented for manager approval. That's my boss on the road who, just like myself, is a road warrior. And with that, we're going to move over to the mobile application, and I'm going to show you how he might approve a invoice, or a expense report in the field. So let's try to find my phone again here. Here it is. And with that, we're going to change applications to the DocuWare mobile client. So you're now looking at the mobile client list view, which is where work items will be presented to someone in the field. And yes, there is a list item for my manager's approval here. He'd be probably driving down the road with a mobile phone in his hand. We certainly don't want him spending much time looking at this during his driving, but he has the ability to, if he chooses to, pull over and take a look. You can see the notations here, that you can see that it was approved by operations. You can see the annotation, and he could scroll through and look at the various receipts on the document. When he's comfortable with what he sees, he can then digitally apply his approval stamp, and we're going to submit that for manager approval. Now note here that we're seeing the list view of multiple individuals all in one environment. These views would certainly in the real world be separate, and somebody from accounting wouldn't necessarily see the request for a manager to approve a exception. So let's go back to complete that transaction, and we're going to see that finally we have our final step, which is where accounting takes the details that have been approved, reviews the expense submission, and they place their final stamp on that document, indicating that they approve it and it has been booked and paid. Now, in our real world process, there's multiple steps related to that. And we've now completed the filing and approval of the invoice. We could have taken that data at the end of this process that we've approved, the total amount, and I could potentially, through an API or other methodology, send it to my ERP to be vouchered so that a check could be cut to me there. The last thing that I want to do in terms of showing you DocuWare elements or product is to, quickly, let's move over to, again, my digital phone, and I'm going to show you a quick digital form here. We're going to see me interacting with a DocuWare expense form for a simple submission. So let's select who the submission is for. It happens to be for me. It's for an office supply. It happens to be for today, and I'm going to set it for the 19th. Let's call it $99 as my expense total, and I'm going to indicate that I bought a new chair. And as opposed to clipping a receipt to that one, I'm going to actually take a picture of my chair and show you how we might simply attach an image to that expense report. Of course, we could attach a receipt if we chose to, and there's my chair. Select OK. And finally, just to kind of expose all the capabilities of the form, I'm going to digitally sign that and submit that to DocuWare. So that will kick off a similar approval process, and it'll go through the users that we recently saw in the previous steps of the demo. So with that, I'm going to jump back into our PowerPoint and wrap up here quickly, and then we'll hand off to Nicole to take us through some questions. So, ultimately, you've seen the DocuWare Cloud implementation. It's an extremely powerful platform with a very complete feature set. The user interface is designed to allow you as a road warrior in the field actively work with the right applications that are simple to use, and you can be assured that this lives on a very robust, secure platform running within Microsoft's Azure platform. So ultimately, Our customers, 18,000 strong, are using this tool to solve their business problems and really increase their pace of business. You can see here we're working with some real industry leaders here that are getting great benefits. Important to note that if you're a smaller organization, this can scale down to the smallest of organizations and provide you similar benefits at a very cost-effective level. So ultimately, we believe we're going to give you a tool to allow you to work with clarity, focus on innovation, establish a future-ready IT platform, and our customers are doing that today. So, here's how you can reach back out to us. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Nicole to see if we have any additional questions.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the great demo. So everyone, feel free to type in your questions in the questions panel on your GoToWebinar control. We'll just wait a few seconds. Just to kick us off, some common questions we've been getting are, after you load the documents into the tray, is it possible to kind of batch store them, or is it only one by one that you can store them?
Yeah, I think I showed that, but yeah, you can clip all those documents together, and I did it in a couple stages. To kind of clean up my desktop, I clicked all the receipts together, and then I ultimately clipped it to the spreadsheet, which was acting as a cover page for that, and created a compound document, and those were submitted as a unit for storage in the DocuWare archive.
All right, sounds good. Thank you. I don't see any questions coming in, but for anyone that has any future questions, one just popped in. Is DocuWare able to read from the scanned receipts, with read being in quotations?
Right. So there are tools within DocuWare to allow you to read data off of scanned images. And so the answer is technically yes, we could scan a receipt and allow you to point and click and add that data to an index field. If you're asking whether I could configure the system to automatically scan a batch of receipts and process those as a batch, that potentially could be done with intelligent indexing. But in the real world, we've chosen to do it in a manual fashion because of the pure random nature of receipts and how difficult it is to predict where totals are and things of that nature.
I think that might answer the next question. Someone asked, do you have a scanning capability for multiple documents? Is it only to be used with a mobile phone?
No, we could, in fact, automate capture of documents through a multifunction scanner that you might have in your office. So, we could put a button on there and allow you to scan a batch of documents directly to the DocuWare tray. Alternately, if you have a direct connect scanner, you could leverage that scanner as well and simply scan them directly into the tray from that environment as well. And I think we saw also a drag and drop. So there's all kinds of ways to get documents into the tray for archival.
All right, sounds good. I don't see any more questions, so if that's it, we can wrap up. Everyone, please feel free to email us further questions at contact@us@docuware.com, and we'll definitely get back to you right away, or contact your authorized DocuWare dealer. Again, thank you for your time, and have a great day.